Our bonus talk of the day. Okay, so I always like to talk a little bit further than just this information. So, what's more insidious than economic data and being incorrect and the Fed not tackling inflation on time? What's more insidious than printing an unfounded amount of new money into the system? What's even more insidious than then talking about quantitative tightening this month as if it's going to have some sort of lasting effect on the situation? All that money that was pumped into the system, about 40 to 60% is average, that was created through the quantitative easing cycle just since October 2019 up until they stopped that policy in March of 2022. All that money can be fractionally lent against. And what that means is roughly whatever that sum is, roughly 90 to 900% of that money will be increased in the pool of money from loans that go out from there. So there's the initial loan from the Fed to the banks, and then the banks loan it out. They do a fractional lending system where they create that money out of nowhere from money that was created out of nowhere. This can be done up to 900% on $100. So that's $900 for every $100 you get, or extrapolate that off of about 5 to 6 trillion since the QE policy really began way back in 2013 and 2011. 2013, I believe, was the first QE1. Beyond the economic indicators, beyond the inflation rate, beyond the Fed's tightening cycle, beyond all of that, there's this other underlying thing that's devaluing our currency. And that's whatever money was created has now doubled or tripled in terms of the velocity of the loans and the mortgages that have been loaned out for these investments, for margin, for stock buybacks. And those asset valuations are now in a bear market, which means they've gone down much more in most cases than 20%, but as a market average, over 20% since the start of the year, and many other companies much worse. So all that money's gone. Whoever sold those and is holding that cash, it's out of the market and it's out of our hands. And we have more down cycles to come. So getting on top of inflation is going to be so much more difficult because there are so many factors other than our broken indicators that aren't being included, along with the still increasing money supply. Even though the technical factors of us no longer doing QE is the narrative in the mainstream, fractional lending is just the snowball effect of QE, and that will be going on and on and on. So inflation's here to stay. We know that because their target rate is 2%. Now here, why don't you take a look at a chart of how successful the Fed has been at hitting 2%. And yeah, you can take a look. I don't see it hitting 2% at any particular time. And it's all well and good for you to go ahead and average those things out of time, but who is it that made you decide that 2% was the right inflation amount when in fact the Fed was brought in to have zero inflation, to have that perfect parity of price stability? That's their mandate, is price stability. How can you have a stable price if you have a 2% inflation target? That's not stable. That's an always increasing price. Now, why don't you take a look at the actual inflation since the 40s and 50s, since the chart goes back? Let's take a look at it right here. You're going to see inflation only goes up. There is no dip to buy on inflation. So this concept of deflation, or this concept that we have price stability, it's completely thwarted. And until we get our economic indicators accurate, we're not even going to be able to have the conversation in the mainstream narrative and mainstream media that we're going to need to have in order to get some more equality and parity of pricing in our stock market. So thank you all. We're going to keep working at it. We needed to get some context around some of these statistics. I had to get this content out. It was itching at me for so long. It has been since I was younger, because lying with statistics is the number one way that we're in the situation that we're in. And so we have to address the statistics, as boring as they are. And as much as any average day trader is not really going to care, like whether this is the right thing or the wrong thing. For a day trader, the question is, what's the price action? What's it going to do? It's always good to know the psychology behind it, because if you just want to go on the mainstream narrative of how the market's going to go up or down at any particular time, it's not going to take into account the algorithmic institutional investor narrative, which is taking into account all of these economic factors and whether they're correct or incorrect, and how the Fed is handling it. So it's all about the money, baby. It's all about supply and demand. Easy as cheesy. Just stay focused. We'll keep working. See y'all around, people. Like, comment, subscribe, please. Trying to grow this channel, get my word out to more people, because this is one of my favorite things to talk about. I like talking about it with you all. Everybody be good. Have a wonderful night. More information to come.